What's good? It's Khalil Jamar. Hope that all is well with you guys. If this is your first time on my channel, welcome. If this is not your first time on my channel, welcome back. Now today we're going to be talking about one of the more controversial moments in bodybuilding history, the 1980 Mr. Olympia, and question whether or not Mike Mentzer truly was supposed to win that competition, because a lot of people do believe so. But before we get into why the 1980 Mr. Olympia was so controversial and whether or not Mike Mentzer had actually won, let me tell you a little bit about who Mike Mentzer and give you a brief overview of who he was. He was a renowned bodybuilder. He's a legendary bodybuilder, Hall of Fame bodybuilder, and he was really known for kind of being a lone wolf and believing in HIIT style training as his main, I guess you could say, philosophy for bodybuilding. And that philosophy went against the philosophy of most bodybuilders at the time. Now let's get right into it. Let's get into why the 1980 Mr. Olympia was so controversial. It did Mike Mentzer actually get snubbed. The 1980 Mr. Olympia had some of the biggest names within bodybuilding at the time, including Frank Zane, Mike Mentzer, of course, and Arnold Schwarzenegger came in by surprise the day before. He said, you know what, I'm going to compete at the 1980 Mr. Olympia. And this is where the controversy actually started. Arnold Schwarzenegger unexpectedly returning and coming out of retirement the day before the event. As he was already a pretty big movie star at the time, he already had a legendary career within bodybuilding. A lot of people felt that his return was really unnecessary and kind of unfair. The thing that I could kind of compare it to, it wouldn't be like Floyd Mayweather competing against boxers nowadays. He'd probably get waxed. He would not be the same type of person. He would not be able to compete with the boxers today, is what I'm saying. But some people do feel like Floyd Mayweather fighting these social media stars and fighting people that are clearly worse than him is obviously a money grab. If he did decide to fight a boxer, let's say he wins by decision against Canelo nowadays. I'm not really into the boxing space, but let's say he fights Canelo and Canelo is clearly beating him up and Floyd Mayweather wins because of his name at the end of the day, and he wins by decision. That's kind of what happened at the 1980 Mr. Olympia. That's why it started to be a little bit controversial. I did mention this in my last video, but I can understand as well why the bodybuilders there, because a lot of bodybuilders there were upset about it. But can you imagine training for something for months, essentially because someone has superstar status, they pretty much get to take and show up whenever they want and take everything that you worked for over the last couple of months. Now, when Arnold did compete and when he did step on stage, a lot of people said that his physique was not what it was before, and it was clear that his physique wasn't matched up to what he was competing against. And people do, there's still discussion on who truly won, but a lot of people do believe that Mike Mentzer should have won that 1980 Mr. Olympia. And in my opinion, even if Mike Mentzer did not have the best physique at the 1980 Mr. Olympia, looking at how Arnold looked versus how Mike Mentzer looked, Mentzer, in my opinion, did have the better physique, but I'm not a bodybuilder at all. I'm not a bodybuilding judge, so maybe I'm wrong in my evaluation. But to me, Mike Mentzer did look like the better bodybuilder at the time and at the 1980 Mr. Olympia. I think that the other thing that you have to look at, though, is, I mentioned this in a previous video, I mentioned it in this one as well, Mike Mentzer really went against the grain. He did not train like other bodybuilders around him. He truly believed in himself. He had a different philosophy than most bodybuilders had at the time, and he was criticized for it, but he still was able to become one of the best. He created his own path and he took it, and it still led him to success. We don't see that within a lot of people. But we do know how the 1980 Mr. Olympia ends. Arnold Schwarzenegger ends up winning. This is where it starts to get even worse. This is where it starts to get even more controversial. After Arnold had won, CBS refused to even produce for Olympia because they did feel like the competition was rigged. At the event, I did read somewhere that about 40% of the people there who were watching the show were booing Arnold Schwarzenegger when they found out that he won and when he was announced as the winner. And after this, it led to Mike Mentzer actually retiring from the sport. That's why the 1980 Mr. Olympia was so controversial. Basically, people believe that the event was rigged. Arnold Schwarzenegger just getting to show up out of nowhere like he is a real life Terminator, and then stepping on stage, winning when clearly he did not have one of the best physiques there. That's where the event is controversial. And again, people do believe Mike Mentzer was the actual winner of the 1980 Mr. Olympia. And this is actually confirmed by another legendary bodybuilder, Jay Cutler. He stated in an interview before, and I believe this was an interview, but he said that Mike Mentzer claims he should have won the 1980 Mr. Olympia in Sydney, and Arnold won. They were talking about how controversial it was, and he was saying how he quit bodybuilding after because he got 5th at the show. I did hear from people there that Mike should have won. So that's in Jay Cutler's own words. People do believe that Mike Mentzer was the rightful winner. Mentzer was obviously disappointed about this. I think that anybody would be pissed in this situation. And people believe that Arnold Schwarzenegger winning the way that he did, again, it led to him leaving and retiring from the sport of bodybuilding. For this, it's still in question as to whether or not Mike Mentzer should have won the 1980 Mr. Olympia. Honestly, looking at his physique, based off the little that I do know about bodybuilding, I would say that Mike Mentzer should have won. I looked at his physique versus the other people there. Frank Zane, I forgot exactly all the names that were there, but looking at them, Mentzer looked like he was the best one up there, in my opinion. But you guys let me know what you think about it in the comment section. If you were around during the 1980 Mr. Olympia, or you got to see it, or you heard about the event, what's your opinions on it? Who do you think should have won that event? Leave that down in the comment section. But guys, that is the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Make sure that you do like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys later.